In this module, we're going to drill down into return on equity and compute the profit margin. Then we're going to further drill down into the profit margin's component parts, analyze the component parts, and see how management explains what happened. Remember that the return on equity can be broken down into three component parts: profit margin, asset turnover, and financial leverage. In this module, we're going to examine the profit margin component. The profit margin is computed by taking profit, or net income, and dividing it by sales. Net income is a technical term for profit. First, we find the net income on the income statement, which becomes the numerator of our ratio. Then we find sales on the income statement, which becomes the denominator of our ratio, and we compute the percentage, which is 7.4% for 2013. The profit margin can give us insight into the company's sales pricing and expense control. To monitor sales pricing, compute the gross profit percentage, which is gross profit divided by sales. To monitor expense control, compute each expense divided by sales. First, let's look in the annual report. A quick scan of the table of contents shows that beginning on page 17, the company discusses its financial performance. On page 18, we find the section that we're seeking. It's the management's discussion and analysis of financial condition and results of operations. Proceeding to page 35, management compares the results of operations for 2013 with 2012. If we look on page 37, we see that management discusses the gross profit. They are saying that profit increased primarily due to an increase of $410.3 million in gross profit, partially offset by an increase of $208 million in selling, general, and administrative expense. Profit mostly increased from the paint stores group. We could therefore summarize that the gross profit increased mostly from the paint stores group, and that this was offset by an increase in selling, general, and administrative expense. To verify what management has said, we can see on the income statement the gross profit improved as a percentage of net sales to 45.3% in 2013 from 44.1% in 2012. This is good. We can also see that selling, general, and administrative expense declined as a percentage of net sales to 34% in 2013 from 34.2% in 2012. This is good, but a minor difference. On pages 35 to 36 in the annual report, management addresses the gross profit percentage by stating basically that the increase in the gross profit percentage was due primarily to higher paint sales volume, partially offset by dilution from acquisitions and unfavorable currency translation rate changes. The gross profit percentage is equal to sales minus cost of goods sold divided by sales. Sales is equal to the sales price per unit times the number of units. The cost of goods sold is equal to the unit cost times the number of units. If we isolate the number of units, we have sales price per unit minus unit cost times the number of units, and this is divided by sales price per unit times the number of units. The number of units actually cancels out, which means that just selling more units won't affect your gross profit percentage. What does affect your gross profit percentage is the sales price per unit and the unit cost. If you increase your selling prices, your gross profit percentage will increase. Alternatively, if you decrease your unit costs, your gross profit percentage will increase. This is what caused Sherwin-Williams' gross profit percentage to increase. The fixed manufacturing costs of the product must have been spread over more units produced and sold, lowering the unit cost. In summary, the gross profit percent increased mostly from manufacturing and selling more paint from the paint stores, and thereby lowering the unit costs. This was offset somewhat by acquiring some new stores that had some upfront costs and from currency translation losses in foreign countries. To verify what management has discussed, we see the sales increase from 2012 to 2013. This is mostly attributable to the paint stores group, whose sales increased from 2012 to 2013. Consolidated net sales for 2013 increased due primarily to higher architectural professional painting contractor paint sales in the Paint Stores Group. The Paint Stores Group acquired new stores. So in summary, the gross profit percentage increased because of higher sales from the Paint Store Group due to new store acquisition. The effect of the manufacturing and selling more paint spread fixed manufacturing costs over more units, lowering the unit cost. Therefore, we can conclude the following about the profit margin for Sherwin-Williams in 2013. The profit margin increased from 2012 because the gross profit percentage increased. The gross profit percentage increased because of architectural painting contractor sales volume increases at the Paint Stores Group, which caused unit costs to decline. Next, we will examine the asset turnover ratio for Sherwin-Williams.